Second of our social nights this year, and it's great to see such a brilliant turnout to come and listen to our tech guru Neil, who's going to tell us all about easy-ish paraglider live tracking. I'll say no more. Thank you very much for coming, Neil. Over to Neil.
We should probably start with a quick intro, I think, because I'm a weekend warrior, so who is this? So I'm Neil. I've been flying about 15 years. Started off down south in Sussex and then moved up here 10 years ago now, something like that. So not posh on this. So we're going to do a bit of live tracking, and then I wrote this live tracking. I wrote this as a presentation. Someone asked on the PSC Facebook page, is there a chance of an easy instruction to how to do live tracking? So I like gadgets, work with gadgets, all that little tech stuff. He says it's the screens. And then as I researched it a bit, and Brian said, "Can I do a presentation?" It started turning into something. Let's do a bit of conspicuity and FLARM and all that sort of stuff as well. So we'll do a bit of both. I absolutely don't know everything there is to know about this, so shout questions, and then anyone else can chip in with kind of whatever really, where I've got it wrong or where I don't know something, please do. Just stop me anytime. But let's run in and see what we've got. It's Hugh here, by the way. Hello.
Hello.
We swapped some messages on this stuff, and Hugh sent me some really interesting stuff, so I'll give you a shout at some point in the presentation. We can talk about that. Thank you. So, start off, what we're talking about when we say live tracking. So, we're talking about broadcasting, but to other pilots, to ground stations that we'll come onto, so receiving radio ground stations, and straight to the internet. Are the three things that we're talking about by live tracking. Some of it's fun, Live Track 24 is just fun. Some of it's for retrieves, and I don't know if everyone's using XC Retrieve, but we'll kind of cover quickly what that is and what it can do. And some of it is anti-mid-air, anti-collision stuff, which I'll see what we get to. Why would you want to do it? So we've just been chatting in the bar, going, why, almost a moment why I put this together. I would love it if everybody was flying live tracking. You look at the maps, and down south there's this cloud of paragliders, and then up here there's sort of me occasionally when I'm out, Simon Bailey, and that's it. It's on the maps. So there is a arguable safety benefit. Certainly with FLARM there's a safety benefit, but anyway, just having people able to see where you are, that things are going okay. Safety benefit of your landing being broadcast is quite nice. People know where you are. You can see other people on your map that will know how to do. So actually on your flight deck, you can see where everybody is and go, is that 5 miles down the road? You might get a quick retrieve. It does work, XC Retrieve, if you've not tried it. It's got me fast trips home before. And you'll help other people is a really big one. So if somebody's, like me, an hour and a half from Parlick, it's really nice to be able to just quickly look and go, where shall I go? The choice is on the way to even feel the Parlick and see where people are flying. And if there's only one tracker popping up, then you don't know. And the last one, you get to pretend you're Kriegel Maurer in the X. I'm going to show you this.
Check that puppy out. Like a wild man. He's fast.
Had anyone seen that? Or is that I hadn't seen that till you sent it to me a couple of weeks ago. No, I love it. He sounds like Ricky Gervais. He's fast. That was Wiltshire. We'll come back to it, but that sort of stuff is what turned this talk into. I'm nowhere near an expert, but why don't we talk about conspicuity as well? Because some of this stuff's quite scary. So let's have a look at that. This is nonce. We're going to cover what these apps are. Well, not the one on the right, that's Live Track 24. We'll cover what the one on the left is. And I was literally I was sat at home looking at it to see if it was flyable. Those are paragliders, so there's 3 of them. They are flying, but not very high, 1,500 feet. And then this guy shot through at 182 miles an hour, 2,500 feet, 2.7. I can't wait. What on earth is that? Looked at Flight Track 24, so it's that, if you can see on the right. It's quick, and it was at just over 2,500 feet, which was fine, perfectly entitled to be there, by the way, no complaints. He's absolutely allowed to do that. But he shot through If it had been a thermic day and there'd been gliders at 2.5, would you have seen them? Don't know. Maybe he knew they were there, which we'll come to, because they're broadcasting FLARM. Maybe he knew, and that's why he's done a little dog leg to the right, and he's avoided don't know. It'd be quite nice to have the confidence that he might know we were there. So it does happen. So first of all, park all the conspicuity stuff. Let's do live tracking first. So we're going to look at a few ways to do it. They're absolutely not the only way to do it. There are so many systems. It's crazy. And part of the problem is there's so many systems, they don't want to talk to each other. So there's absolutely other ways than the way I'm going to talk about to get live tracking. There might be ways that are better for you, but this way is quite easy if you just want to do it. So we'll kind of run into it. And also qualify, I think Sam's about, I don't know anything about iPhones. So if you're flying with an iPhone, I have looked up a few of the apps, but we'll cover Android mostly, and then we can get into iPhones another time with somebody who knows about iPhones. So first thing, if we're just live tracking, not conspicuity, what do we want to happen? So ideally, it would be really easy. You just get to take off, turn on a couple of instruments, one instrument, just know that stuff's happening, it's already set up, you don't have to connect things every time, muck about with it. If you give people a web link, family at home, whoever, they know that if they look at it, they can see what you're doing. People browsing on LiveTrack24 or the other tracking sites, the OpenGlider net-powered ones that again we'll come to, would just be able to see if you're there. That's quite nice. So anyone at home will work browsing to see what the paragliders are up to. You'd have connected to xcretrieve.aero, which is the retrieve service. And again, that would just happen automatically and you get picked up. And in the air, when you're flying, your flight deck map will be showing you who's around with names, little pings on your flight deck map on your phone or on your device saying this is who's about, this is where they are. And really nice, and they're climbing. So you can quickly scoot across. There was a story from the last world, somebody went, they were all flying Skytraxers, I think, and one of them claimed to have piggybacked off the other, saw him climb straight over. So you can get little, someone's climbing alerts near you. This is all of that is really, really easy on Android. So if you've got an Android phone, an old one, your actual phone, although it's nice to stick it to your flight deck, it's really, really easy. So that's a mess. And I do like gadgets, and that's a mess. So just picking out a couple. FLARM. Does everyone know what FLARM is? There's a room for you. No? Shaking heads, maybe. XC track, ADS-B, there's proper transponders that everybody's flying with. The light aircraft are flying with. Pilot aware that the light aircraft are flying with. FA-Net and Plus, which is your Skytrax system, I think your UDs. Airware is still hanging around, although I think it might be fading away a bit. There was a lot of it a few years ago, but there are a lot of systems and they don't talk to each other, and it's quite annoying. So simplifying it, if you want to broadcast, there's 3 ways to do it. You can get a phone. It's really just literally using any old phone, whatever phone's in your pocket. It sends you track to some really nice sites, so you get really good maps. It doesn't give you any conspicuity at all, so no one will be able to see you because people at home will be able to see you. No one who's flying will be able to see you due to anything that you do with a mobile phone. It doesn't help with that. You can use your Vario. So this is your Skytraxes, your XC tracers, your UDs that are broadcasting FLARM. It's great, it's fully automatic, you switch it on as long as you've updated the thing and FLARM hasn't expired on it. Makes you visible. I've kind of put, it doesn't give you great maps, it kind of does, they're getting better. It doesn't necessarily make you visible as your name on a map, you're just broadcasting a code that goes, something is flying about here. If you've got an XC tracer, it's probably been set up to say a paraglider is flying about here, but it doesn't say anything else. It just broadcasts about 20 kilometres, and then that's it, to tell people where you are. And you're also picked up by ground stations, which is how the maps work, the online maps. And then the last one is some kind of dedicated tracker, and I've kind of mixed everything together here. So Airware, getting an Android e-reader, and then doing some soldering and getting into tech. I mean, even I do like tech, but the engineering for an Airware is not for me. You know, kind of looking at the website going, that's quite a lot of soldering and circuit boards and messing about. But some people really like them, so they work. There's GX Air, which is sort of similar, does a similar kind of build your own, and there's things like Spot and InReach, stuff like that, where you've got dedicated devices. So big difference. They work without phone signals, and they're kind of dedicated. They don't do anything else. And the Spots and InReaches and things might need a subscription to make them work. So it's kind of dedicated trackers. So first thing, this is almost if you don't do anything else and you want live tracking, you do this, you've got it. I'm going to flick over now, I'll show you an app, but has anyone seen the XC Guide app? I don't think it's got that far. Yeah, no? It's awesome on Android because it just brings everything together into one service where it just goes, I can talk to everything. XC Guide can, and so you don't have to worry about everything else works. So if you do these things, you're on LiveTrack 24. I'll flick over to it now and show it to you because I found out the other day you can run Android apps on Windows, which is that's cool. This is there. But anyway, what a cool thing, paragliding apps on your laptop. But so this is now, it's not actually got GPS, but it should be picking up where we are because I've told it. And this is XC Guide, so it's a flight instrument, it's a kind of fully featured thermal assistant, flight to goal app, and it does loads and loads of stuff, but it also pulls in on the live tracking. So we'll come back to it in a bit, but in terms of broadcasting, what you do is you go in settings, it clicks really down, you go in live tracking, and you tell it your LiveTrack 24 details, and then that's it. So if you've registered for a LiveTrack 24 account online, which is, go to livetrack24.com, get an account, give this your details. If you want, if it's on your flight deck, you can even say to this thing, just start whenever the phone starts, you know it's running, and that's it. It'll start broadcasting when you take off, and people on LiveTrack 24 will see you. So that's really, really nice. It's the first way to do it, and you're broadcasting live tracking. We go back. So that was number one. And it's pretty cool, you know, when you get into it as a set of maps. There's 2D maps as well, and there's like a menu system and who's flying today. The menu is not the best for browsing. You kind of drop it in and it tries to tell you what people all over the place, and it's quite hard to zoom in on an area and just go who's flying Parlic. But if you pick up a pilot that you want to follow, then you know you get the full Google Earth live XL style tracking. It's great. So the app will give you that if you just fill in your details. Number two. So I said XC Guide will do everything. We also want it. This is if you don't have a FLARM Vario. If you have a FLARM Vario, forget this for a minute because you're already broadcasting to OpenGliderNet. If you don't have a FLARM Vario, do this as well. So on XC Guide, obviously they put it in a different place to make it confusing. The hardest thing about XC Guide is working out how to turn it off, by the way. You have to press back, wait 2 seconds, and then press back again or it won't let you out. It's the most ridiculous kind of setup. But if I click here for the settings, you've got this, and I can request one here, so I can say new FLARM ID, and then I need to go on the OpenGliderNet website. Sorry, new FLARM ID. It's using the FLARM logo. It's not FLARM. It's a mobile phone. There's no collision avoidance. It's you register for a new OpenGliderNet ID. You tell it, you verify it. It goes, okay, I've got that now as well. So then, whenever this app starts, and you'll set it to, again, if I go in here, live tracking, this thing's a little bit fiddly, but it's not too bad. OpenGliderNet, and I can say, moment saying, track after takeoff, I can say continuously or don't track or whatever. So when the app is on, XC Guide will detect a takeoff and it'll just start broadcasting, you don't have to worry about it. And then you're appearing on LiveTrack 24 and on the OpenGliderNet powered stuff. And I'm going to explain OpenGliderNet in a bit, but it's a service that picks up all of the FLARM broadcasts and trackers like this. And that's it. Then you set up really, which is great. You know, you're not seeing anybody else's stuff yet, and sailplanes still can't see you. But in terms of broadcasting live tracking, I mean, personally, I think that would be brilliant. They, like to say, they have it down south. So when I looked at Devil's Dyke back in the last week when it was flyable, so Devil's Dyke's near Brighton, you know, this 8, 10 trackers strung out across the ridge. It was very, very easy to see how high they were, you know, how windy it probably is, are they penetrating? It was really, really easy to see. So that would be wonderful from my point of view if everybody was doing that and we'd all maybe get a little bit more airtime, because you kind of go, oh, I'm free this afternoon, that's fab. So that's how you get set up as the real basics. There are, I've had a look on iPhones, so I'm going to talk about iPhones, but you can't get XC Guide on iPhone. There are apps to get LiveTrack 24. I'm not sure, unless anybody wants to shout one out, that there is an Open GliderNet tracker for iPhone. I don't think there is from Googling. So Android is not a bad way to go because it's well integrated and they're really cheap. It's kind of easy to get one. Does that make sense? So that's you broadcasting then. Shout out if it doesn't. That gives you, in terms of the maps, so LiveTrack 24 is that kind of stuff. It's not very browsable, but if somebody wants to jump into, sorry, I'm jumping backwards and forwards here, but if you send someone a link like this, livetrack24.com/you, whatever you've chosen to call yourself, and they drop in, they'll be able to see, you know, those kind of maps. It's pretty cool. The glider radar, glide and seek, glider net ones are much more the traditional, this kind of map. That's glider net. Actually, that's Devil's Dyke. So that is a midweek flying day on Devil's Dyke. It's 1, 2, these are all paragliders, they're all pink. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you know, there's lots. And they've got 2 north-facing sites down there, that's where I trained. And Phil, you know, had another 5 or 6 on it. So, and it's only just up the road. So there are a lot of these being flown around. Most of those are FLARM. And you get that. And you can click in and get details about the aircraft. The hidden thing, by the way, is you have choices about whether you want to broadcast a name or not. I think it's nice if you do, but you know, totally up to you whether you want to broadcast a string of numbers, have it hidden, or broadcast a name, whatever you want to attach. They're also, as you just go back up here, so that was GliderNet. Glider radar's they're all the same, they're all running off the same service. Glider radar's quite pretty, I quite like it slows down a bit, and a lot of people seem to be using Glide and Seek, which has got really nice maps and looks pretty cool. So it's kind of a muchness. They're all, this service Open Glider network, they're all picking up the same feed and just mapping it in different ways. So whichever one you like. This is, you know, if you're sat at a PC and you want to know where people are flying, these are the ones to check. You know, LiveTrack 24, it's hard to browse. This is the way to go. But they are different services, and some people are broadcasting one and some people are broadcasting the other. Quick one. So this was a pure personal thing. When I started this, I was like, I want to put XC track, which is the kind of paragliding full navigation and all the rest for Android. I want to stick that on my flight deck. I've got an old Samsung Galaxy S5. And it worked, it was great. You know, you're there and you've got XC track is fabulous. And you've got that running. And I was like, well, I want live tracking. I want to broadcast a LiveTrack 24, but I need a SIM card in the phone to make that work. And so I flew for a while. I was hotspotting my normal phone and connecting my flight deck phone to my normal phone so that it had a signal so that it could broadcast. And it was all a bit fiddly and annoying. So it's just a quick one to say, if you've got something on your flight deck with a SIM card in it, you can get a free SIM. From 3 to a free SIM. Yeah. So there's a web link. They give you 200 mega data a month free, which is, you're never blowing that on a tiny, tiny, tiny little text feed for live tracking. There is a little fiddly thing, so if your phone is designed for tablets, the SIM, and if it thinks you put it in a phone, it will refuse to work. So there is a little setting you can change on your phone that tells the SIM card that it's not a phone, it's a tablet. You won't be able to make calls on it, but you get free data on flight deck. It's great. It's been working for me all season. It's fab. But it saves. With all the other networks, you end up putting a pay-as-you-go in, putting credit on it. The credit expires, and before you know it, you're paying 10, 20 quid a month credit just to keep everything running, or hotspots in your own phone. So stick one of those in, and it's free. It just works. It's great. You might have the fun of trying to unlock a Galaxy S5. You can't remember what network it was on. That was good. Just bringing up and getting across with Vodafone. It's not ours. Definitely. It wasn't. XC, I wasn't sure how long to spend on this. So is that all right so far, by the way? So you've got this thing on. You've got an Android phone. It doesn't matter if it's your actual one in your pocket. I mean, it needs to be able to pick up GPS. Your actual one in your pocket or the one on the flight deck is broadcasting. All good. XC Retrieve. I know some people use it up here because I've had lifts home of people using it up here, and it's great. If you don't, there is xcretrieve.aero. It's just a map of where it knows people are flying, and then it's a set of Telegram groups that you can text and say, I've landed out, is anyone around? You know, either fellow pilots around, can you give me a lift? I'm up in the same taxi, or just if you're lucky, somebody with a car going, I'll take picking on you, drive you. So it's great. One of the reasons for Lighttrack 24 was that it connects to XC Retrieve. So you set yourself up with Lighttrack 24, you tell XC Retrieve, I'm a paraglider pilot, you know, this is my ID, and then this will track you as well. So you can just use XC Retrieve as a Telegram group. So you literally you land out, no one's seen you track, you know, you're not tracking, you just landed out in the middle of nowhere, and you send it a text message on Telegram and go, you know, I landed out, is anyone around? Or if you make the connection, which the instructions are there, I'll check this on Facebook so everyone's got the links. If you make the connection, you appear looking like that, and everyone can watch you actually fly, and hopefully someone picks up that you're kind of on your way to somewhere near there, and you might get picked up. You never know. It's quite a nice thing. The Derbyshire group, I'm on, because I'm about halfway between here and Derbyshire. The Derbyshire group is busy on here. There's lots and lots and lots of chat and pings and all the rest on an XC day. I think less so for us, but it is a nice thing. It does work. But it only connects to, for showing where you're actually flying, only connects to Lighttrack 24, that's how it works. Tim Pentry, the guy behind it, would like it to do on GN, so hopefully at some point it will, but not.
Connects to spots.
So yeah, that's, I think it connects to spots because you can connect spot to Lighttrack 24.
You can do it direct to spot.
Can it do it
Yeah,
direct as well?
it feeds it from the spot page directly.
That one I didn't know. And it can do airware as well. It does do airware. But not open glider net. As part of this, they don't all talk to each other thing. But that is a really, really nice service. You know, it has the potential to get you, even if just one off a lift home. Personally, I found it's quite nice. Just it's kind of cathartic just to send that message as well. I've landed out. Any help? Even if you don't get any, you know, you try.
I've been airborne in the middle of nowhere, and then had someone come up on the radio because they spotted me on that, and then they give me a lift back up.
I watched you and Simon Bailey XCing, I think on Pendle, and across, and you went down around Hepton Bridge.
Yeah.
And because I'm edges of Huddersfield, I was like, if you make it another 20 odd K, I'm going to phone you and tell you I can take you back, and you didn't make it. I'm sorry. But at least I could have got to a train station, you know, middle of nowhere. You've got to make it to Huddersfield, and then I'll help.
Is there still a problem with if you registered on OGN that you don't show up properly on Lighttrack?
Yeah, I was going to come to it. Yeah, there's one thing you don't want to do, but we'll come to, because it's about FLARM and you can break Lighttrack 24, but we'll come to that in a sec. Mentioned airware. I've never put airware together. I just know it's a thing, and people use it as 3-4 pilots that you'll regularly see in Derbyshire as pings on airware, so it kind of did take off. Where Open Glider Net is working by two ways. One is the tracker off the phone, where you're broadcasting that way. The other way is it picks up all the FLARM devices, so all the devices that are broadcasting FLARM radio, broadcast to Glider Net ground stations, and it picks them up and maps all the gliders that way. So that's working off the ground station, so you're broadcasting off your device, your XC Tracer or your Skytrax or your ED is broadcasting, the ground station's picking it up and it's mapped. Airware works the same way, it's just not as big. It was kind of set up a few years back, and there's fewer ground stations and it's not so networked into everything else. So it's there, it's cool, it does apparently, the devices are really nice to fly with, apparently I've not tried it, they've talked about very, very well in e-readers. And you can make it broadcast FLARM, but again, you're into a quite an soldering and electronics webpage to make that work. It's kind of buy this board, buy that board, attach this to that, don't screw it up, fry your board, that kind of instructions. But it is there. This is part of the kind of written presentation I stuck together in response to the question on Facebook. That's, as far as straightforward live tracking goes, that's it. You're broadcasting Live Track 24 and OGN, so anyone browsing either of the maps can see you. And if you've connected up Live Track 24 to the XC Retrieve bot, which I won't go through, it's not my system, but if you've done that link, then you never know, you might get a ping on Telegram when you look down, somebody goes, oh, I've seen you, and gives you the but you haven't got any conspicuity at all yet. You've just got a mobile phone broadcasting some nice maps. So let's run into what that would mean. Bit of a wide, sort of, I've kind of changed this and put Open Glider Net on as well, but Live Track 24 was basically the thing I led with because it's really easy. There are other apps that do it as well, but the XC Guide one, if you're on Android, in my opinion, is the best one because it does all the other services and does lots of other cool stuff. And it's stable. Live Track 24 is, particularly this year, it's been a bit wobbly. Sometimes it's not been working, some of the apps don't really work anymore to talk to it. XC Guide seems to be all right, works. It's easy, you only need a phone, it's free, there's loads of people already on it, can connect to these other services like XC Retrieve, and you get those nice 3D maps. So it's a nice one to lead with, together with OGN. This is a bit of an aside, but there is also tracking in XC Track, as long as you buy the Pro version. So probably a load of people are flying XC Track.
I don't think you even need the Pro version. I don't have it.
You're not now?
No.
Because it definitely didn't track until I bought Pro.
It was only on the beta, but then they released it on the full version, I believe.
Do you not have to pay, if you pay them £5, you get so many hours worth of connection?
Not as far as I'm aware.
So last time I looked,
It might have been updated, I'm not sure. But.
So, I don't know if there's new pilots in the room who've not seen XC Track yet, get an old Android phone, modern-ish, stick it on your flight deck, wherever your flight deck is, or stick it to your leg, put XC Track on it, brilliant. And it's free. And it's even free with live tracking. Looks like this. So switching back to our Android simulator, that's my setup. Everyone's got their own setup, so it's totally customizable. You can put whatever maps you want, you can put your airspace thing wherever you want, or not at all. You can have compasses on it, you can have triangle assistance. It kind of depends what flying you do, and it's got custom settings as well to kind of switch between competition mode and free flying mode. Well, it's ace, and it's big into say it's got GPS. And there's various, so that's the thermal assistant, and then I have an airspace screen, and then I'm back to the start again. But if you've not, I won't dwell on it because so many people are going to be running it anyway, but if you've not tried it, it's fab. It's really, really brilliant, and it's free. However, and it has live tracking. But back to the nothing talks to anything else that you wanted to. XC Track's live tracking is just for XC Track. So the people who built it are the X-Contest developers. So if you see an X-Contest, which is kind of like the XC League for everywhere that doesn't have the XC League, like everywhere else, as far as I can tell. They built it, and it tracks to an X-Contest map. And when you're in the air, if your phone's got a mobile phone signal, then it talks to other people running XC Track, and it will show you them on the map, and they'll see you, and you'll see them. But it doesn't talk to anything else. It just talks to other people running XC tracks. It's kind of nice, but you don't get broadcast to all the open glider net maps. You don't get like track 24. You don't. You know, it's just XC track to XC track. It doesn't do anything else. That said, the app is awesome, and I definitely run it. It's fun. And all the iPhone people run Fly Sky High instead and rave about that. But if you're on Android, this is fab. And you can customize it any way you want. So if you don't like it, you just redraw the screen, make it do different stuff. Back to FLARM. So that's kind of the last of the phone trackers. Back to FLARM. If you've got a FLARM Vario, and I think I meant to check before I came in. Are the CAA still running the half off?
Yeah.
Offer? Brilliant. Okay, so if you don't know about that, up to 500 quid, half price of anything that is a FLARM device or any other contributed FLARM, I think, for us. So personally, I've been flying the same Vario for 14 years, up to the start of this year. But the same one I bought when it worked. Bright orange, there was no fish price to it, but it worked. And I thought, okay, time for an upgrade. There's no way I'd spend 500 quid on a Vario personally, but for CAA, paying half. I love an XC Tracer Max, and it's a lovely, lovely thing. So that is around. You can claim back. It does work. I got the 250 quid back. It's great. Lots of other people have. They've been saying, well, obviously, you guys are saying it's still going. They've been saying basically when the funding runs out, we'll stop. But it's great as far as it goes. So if you've got an XC Tracer, the Skytrax with FANet Plus, which I think all the Skytraxes do now, and UD, then they're broadcasting FLARM, so that's a radio signal broadcast out, and other FLARM devices will see it. So if you're flying, and most of these devices, or at least the basic XC Tracers, say are just broadcast. It's just a black box. It doesn't show you anything. It just broadcasts FLARM. If anyone else is picking up FLARM, they'll see you. They'll see you on their maps, and they will get, if they've got collision warnings, they'll get collision warnings about you. The FANet Plus is, so again, too many systems, but Skytrax FANet was just Skytrax to Skytrax and UDs. I think it was just them talking to each other, and then they put the plus on. The plus means it's got FLARM, so you're out talking to everything else. So there are aircraft-to-aircraft transmissions, but also the Open Glider Net ground stations are listening for FLARM broadcasts, and then they rebroadcast them to the web, so that's where the maps come from. Which means, in summary, if you've got a FLARM device, as soon as you turn it on, you have some kind of live tracking already. Quick update, I just kind of wasn't sure about whether to put one of these diagrams in, and I thought I'd put a simple one rather than try to make it really complicated. So what might be going on? There's FLARM is basically us, hangies, helicopters and sailplanes. There's some light aircraft broadcasting FLARM, but not that many. If you look at the glider radar type map, there's a spot in North Wales, which is obviously RAF training, that's always covered in a cloud of helicopters like beach around Honeypot. There's sailplanes out at Parlick Airfield and down south in Dunstable, and you see all of them. You see various other things, and then when we're up, we'll show up as pings as well, and the hangies will show up as ping. That's us. So without anything else getting involved, we can see each other. So the sailplanes, if they've got a screen, can see us, and at cloud base are getting alerted that we're around, which is kind of nice, same for the helicopters. There are transmit-only FLARMs, and then things like XC Tracer Maxes do have a screen that show you other people, but we're not really collision avoiding anyway. In the incident report for that Hawk jet near miss that was at the start, this kind of discussion of in a collision, or sorry, in a closing course, both aircraft brake right. Really? In a paraglider against a 500 knot Hawk? That's nothing. So we can see each other. Some people are just transmitting. The ground stations are picking up all those FLARM broadcasts, passing them to Open Glider Net servers, and then gliderradar.com and stuff like that works off that. Sometimes, this was one of the fun bits of research putting this together, there's a thing called OGNR, which is Some of the glider-net ground stations are also attached to pilot-aware ground stations, and they will only talk to each other by radio. So something, for a second I kind of had does that mean if you're running mobile phone open glider-net tracker, not FLARM, just off your phone with XC Guide, does that mean I can be seen by people running pilot-aware? No, it absolutely doesn't. So open glider-net only rebroadcasts radio to these pilot-aware ground stations, which is called, it doesn't matter what it's called, but it's called OGNR. So there is a chance that you get rebroadcast from FLARM to pilot-aware with a bunch of Cessnas and light aircraft and stuff like that. The last one on the right, the military cannot see FLARM, which is the chat that you and I were having. Do you want to jump in on whether that might ever happen? Honestly, I don't.
There is a school of thought that says that all fast jets should have FLARM, and there's a legal obligation on all. I don't know about light aircraft, but all aircraft to have. Set aside GA, but all aircraft have to have ADS-B by 2023 or 2025 or something like that. So within the next couple of years, everything's got to have ADS-B.
ADS-B, yeah. So proper transponders.
Yeah. And there, because it's so cheap and so easy, that there's a school of thought that says we should have FLARM, or the fast jets should have FLARM as well. And you can say lookout is everything. It's not. I can tell you that. No, it is not everything. And that pilot didn't know he was in a gaggle of paragliders until he was in a gaggle of paragliders. And I have seen aircraft go in France. I've seen aircraft on a couple of occasions go into a gaggle of paragliders. In fact, at low level. So I hope. And I can keep you updated on this, although I have sort of mostly retired from the Air Force a couple of weeks ago. There is a push to get FLARM, and if they do, it'll probably be it'll be fantastic, because probably the biggest risk for a fast jet is hitting something it can't see, and it can't see, and it can't. If you go onto YouTube, you can see there's a Jaguar passed within about 10-15 feet of a glider. He just didn't see him. The Jaguar was in and out of flight, but the video is about 10-15 minutes before he actually almost hits a glider. But FLARM is being pushed with the military, and they're probably your biggest threat, I would say, and especially if you're flying in Wales, almost anywhere in Wales. If you're flying in the Lake District, FLARM would be fantastic.
When I was home, thank you. Because I found out a load of stuff from you when we were sort of swapping messages. Okay, yeah, we'll put that in the presentation. It's good stuff. The other thing I was thinking is, the more of us that are flying with it, the more the case should become, well, why would you not have it if you're trying to, if we're a danger and we're all flying FLARM, then it becomes kind of self-fulfilling. So probably a good thing. But as it stands right now, I mean, even sailplanes are cloud-based. It'd be quite nice if they knew we were there, in and out of the cloud, so that's good. And helicopters, you might get picked up by pilot-aware, which again it's all Android, so it is people running Android tablets effectively in light aircraft. But there's no guarantee of that because it only works via this OGNR rebroadcast link, which you can't guarantee is happening from the OGN ground station that can actually see you. That said, you're going to change. There we go. This was, when was this? It was only like a month ago, something like that. So if you can't read it, as a GA pilot, I want to ask you if your paraglider pilots are using anything like pilot-aware or similar. So this was posted on Derbyshire's forum because someone was flying towards Stanage when via Sky Demon, my pilot-aware picked up 2 paragliders. So basically, he was flying towards Stanage, hadn't seen the paragliders yet, and got a ping in his cockpit to say there's paragliders ahead of you, and he pulled up and cleared, which, way back to that nonce one at the start, might have been what that guy did, dunno. Maybe he veered to the right, go, oh, paragliders, I'll give them some room. But it'd be really nice if that happened, but that link is this rebroadcast link that you can't totally rely on, but it's not a bad thing. You know,
How many OGN stations are there, and what sort of coverage
they
do they
are, let me put them on the screen.
Because you said, I think, 20 kilometres for a FLARM
Hang
transmit.
on. Let's get them to go lighter radar shows them off. They're pretty good. Right, that's the ground stations. Sorry about that, because it's stuff again. Zoom in once. There they are. So they're pretty good until you get up, you know,
Get up to
That's
us.
proper
north of
remote.
England.
Proper remote. But
Nothing in the Lake District.
Yeah.
there's not. You can put these up, by the way. You can make one. Stick it on your roof if you want.
They're cheap and easy. One of the arguments against FLARM flying, because I worked at Anglesey, one of the arguments against having it on the Hawks flying out of Valley was that there's no ground station nearby. I said, well, it's £100.
You can make
It's,
this.
it's cheap. Just do it.
So yeah, I mean it's an antenna and a Raspberry Pi type circuit board. It's really simple. Tempted to do it for fun, but it's not needed. Huntsman's got one. Yeah.
So they are they all interlinked?
So they are all. So they're little radio antennas attached to little circuit boards. They're just sat somewhere on a roof. Lots of them are at gliding clubs, lots of them are at airfields, but they are all internet connected. So they are then broadcasting to these labs over the internet.
Yeah, so the coverage there is, there's no gaps in the coverage down south, is there? Or is it range?
But yeah, but they could work. Oh, I see what you mean. But yeah, up here, you know, if you it's a good chance of yeah, and then so I did wonder about this. It's funny, you talk about tracking on a few Facebook pages and stuff. People just start messaging you, but people have opinions. You get this stuff coming through. There is a school of thought of, well, why aren't they picking up the mobile phone tracker broadcasts as well as the FLARM radio? And as far as I can tell from reading posts and things, it's too slow in their opinion. I mean, I kind of go, well, we're so slow that if you're broadcasting on a phone, it probably doesn't matter. But they're thinking about collision avoidance, helicopter and light aircraft speeds, was what I read. I don't know if this is strictly true, but that's what I read. So they will only do collision avoidance on radio to radio, not over the internet back via a mobile phone because it's too slow. That seemed to be what the OGN post was saying. Right, do a little bit more, take a break again. So, this is fun, if you've got FLARM and you haven't tried this. So how do you know your FLARM? Like, you know FLARM works in general, how do you know your FLARM works? You go to this link, you get a little graph like that, and it tells you all the OGN ground stations that have ever seen you. And you get a little list, it's quite nice, but it's also for checking, this is a sailplane, random sailplane. But it's showing you your signal distance, so this is going out to, what, 20k at the outside, it seems to be broadcasting. But you can also look at it and go, look, it's not going as far backwards as it is to the front. Presumably it's mounted at the front of the sailplane, so there's a lot of sailplane in the way when it's broadcasting backwards. Mine, I want to get it up and fly it properly on XC and get around, you know, a nice good range, because at the moment when you do range graph on mine, it shows you Harlech, like you're right on it, and it shows you kind of Edenfield and a couple of other places, but I haven't got the smooth XCs, you know, being a lot of distances, a lot of different angles and things. That said, mine currently has a big kink in on it to the right hand side, which is where my phone is, next to my FLARM Vario. Might be a fluke, but I want to fly about a bit more and find out, because it might be that I'm not really broadcasting to the right because there's a mobile phone in the way. But that's quite fun. Just, you know, you go on and see what you're picking up, and that you are broadcasting in all directions, and it does work. Just a couple of airboxes, and again, these are what I got from you. This was Sutton Bank, Hawks again. The conflict was fleeting and the flight path nothing more than fortuitous. It was assessed that the formation had flown through a circling stack of gliders, all passing within 250 to 300 metres of the lead hawk. number 2 pilot didn't see any of the gliders in the incident. They went straight through them. It's like a Herman gliders or something like that. And yeah, didn't see anything. That's the one from the video that I showed you at the start, which is kind of an interesting one. It's right on the edge, the flying site is right on the edge of a danger area. And the paragliders, from what I could see in the incident report, say they weren't in it, and they probably weren't. They were, the hills on the edge of it. The Hawk should have been in it for the manoeuvres he was doing, but he didn't strictly have to be. He can leave it if he wants. He was supposed to be inside it. And he set out for an attack run, levelled at 1,200 feet, and upon rolling out, flew directly through the middle of a group of 4 to 5 paragliders at the same altitude, immediately pitched up at 6G. And I hadn't seen these two before I started putting this together, and that's quite scary. It's quite sobering. The extra sobering thing is what we were just talking about. FLARM doesn't help with this. They can't see FLARM, so I thought I'd put this in. This is a quote from the same incident report. The RN Hawk T1 is operated as a single-seat aircraft with the primary means of navigation being a map and a stopwatch. There's a black and white GPS in there, and a paper map and a stopwatch. I don't know if anyone's ever seen. I can't remember what it was called. There was an RAF training documentary, kind of followed the trainee recruits through, and they were doing the MAC loop in Snowdon, which is the low-level flying loop. And the test is, can you do the MAC loop to time with a stopwatch and a map? I've never been in a fast jet, but I can't imagine you're looking out the window every time. If you're looking at a stopwatch, you're the only one in there. So I've decided I put my hands up today and go, I have never phoned in or emailed in a campaign. Me, that's going to kind of go, has anybody done it? So the campaign procedure is how you tell the military you're going to be there. And you can phone in several sites. And I've flown all over the country. I've flown in Wales, I've flown here, down south. I have never, ever put in a campaign notification that this scares me, I'm going to. And it's really easy. You just mail them and say, here's the site code. You just get off the BHPA website. We're going to be here this morning. You've got to be 24 hours, I think 24 or even 36 hours ahead. So you just phone in a bunch of sites based on the wind directions and go, there's likelihood of paragliders in this vicinity. If you're cross-country, it doesn't help, but at least they might not do what they did on that first one, which those gliders weren't on XC, they were therming out next to a danger zone, and you went straight through the middle, because from reading the report, I think probably misjudged where the edge of the danger zone was. It was trying to stay in it, but it didn't. But,
There are websites that is account for you now.
I think there is. They made it easier, didn't they?
They just some tab down and say all the sites have already got the details.
Yeah. But yeah, hands up, never done it, and we don't have the military around Harlem. There's no reason they couldn't. You probably should.
I'm a member of this Malunia club, and they do it a lot.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons.
That makes sense. It's easy, isn't it?
Yeah, Cumbria are quite good at it as well.
Yeah.
They've got a lot more common in doing it these days for the same reasons.
It's a lot easier with, is it Logan's?
Yeah, that's what John
It's so easy to do.
But yeah, it can't do us any harm.
Up until recently, no times used to be a void, because it turns into effectively a no time. And they used to be a void, so they're not voids anymore, they're just warning. So it's only for awareness, they can still fly through.
Sure. Yeah, hopefully. But yeah, no, I take your point. It's that kind of, it can't hurt to say that we're going to be here.
Yes. Also, when I've seen some no times in Snowdonia where they're flying off a certain site, but it covers like 3 valleys.
Yeah.
And actually, the area that it covered was far too big.
Yeah.
It took out half of the northern section of Snowdonia.
Yeah.
And you can't avoid that.
No. Right, last thing before a break. So when you're on these maps, these glider radar, glider net, all the rest of it, and the app that we'll see after the break, your ID is your FLARM device ID, or actually nothing if the site's working the way that it should. I think glider radar, glide and seek always tells you the FLARM ID, which actually it. You should mask it if you've asked to mask it. If you go on the OpenGliderNet database and register your FLARM ID, you will appear as a nice name. So we've got name Francis, this is Pendle, and we've got a name, somebody, string of letters, flying a FLARM Vario. So if you want to appear as a nice name, register on the GliderNet database, and then you'll appear as a nice name on the maps, and everyone will know it's you. Otherwise, you just appear as a string of letters. This is what Brian just mentioned. You can give LiveTrack24 your FLARM ID as a way of connecting the two together. If you want to use XC Retrieve, don't do it because you break XC Retrieve. It will decide you're a sailplane and everything will stop working and it will stop tracking you. So you don't need to dwell on the details too much, but you can put your FLARM ID in LiveTrack24. You probably don't want to. If you do, it's because LiveTrack24 is pretty flaky. Once you put it in, you shouldn't try deleting it. You can't do it. So you probably don't want to if you've got a FLARM Vario. If you want XC Retrieve to work. Personally, the only way I could clear it was to delete my LiveTrack24 account and start again once I've done that. So don't. And then if you don't like, if you sat, it comes to a live tracking presentation. If you're going, I hate this, I don't want people to know where I am. If you set no tracking on your device itself, you'll disappear from all the maps. You'll still be broadcasting FLARM, but you'll disappear from all the glider radar type maps. If you put, I don't want this device to be tracked in the OGN devices database, you should disappear from all maps. And if you say, I don't want this device to be identified, you should appear as an anonymous ping, so you'll appear as an anonymous paraglider. So if you don't like it, there are options to turn it off, other than turning your Vario off and then losing all the community advantage. Right. Does anyone fancy a plan? Yeah. Cool. We've got a shorter section and then questions if anybody wants to do questions. It's all good if you've got a FLARM Vario, you're broadcasting, all good. We've just had a chat with a couple of people now. It's really worth sticking your device on that DDB, the GliderNet database, the open GliderNet one, just so you show us a nice name if you want to. And then there's, on your flight deck, how do you know where everyone else is? Because you're broadcasting, it'd be nice to get something back. So let's do that. I keep banging on about XC Guide. It's really nice that someone has taken the time to go, there's too many services, let's just make one thing that talks to all of them and can broadcast as many of them as possible. So that's why it's so nice. It's a little bit of a kind of quirky app to use, like the press back twice to get out kind of stuff, but basically it's the only one that just drags in everything. So part of the reason for XC Guide was it was really, really nice to just have one app that could send to LiveTrack24 and OGN and you don't have to worry about it anymore. And the other reason is it can show you everybody else. So, back to a little kind of diagram, all the nonsense that's going on again. You've got an old-fashioned XC Tracer 2, which is sending, and the XC Tracer Max guy can see him on his screen, and then the Skytraxers are talking to each other, and the Skytrax FNF Pluses are talking to them as well, and the Airwares are stuck over here not really talking to anyone except each other, and the Spots are doing their thing, but they're not talking to anyone over here, and LiveTrack24 is doing its thing and not talking to anyone. But XC Guide just makes all that go away, is the thing to bear in mind. So if you install XC Guide and set it up once, all that just goes away and you can see everybody, which is the really, really great thing about it. So yeah, it makes it go away. That, I mean, that's, I can't remember, it was a month or so ago. But you get a map like that. Personally, it's running, I've got it on the flight deck phone for a reason I'll show you in a second for broadcasting LiveTrack24. But I stick it on here as well. Because if you go on your phone, in the settings, and live tracking, so you can see you've got all the services here. So you can broadcast to LiveTrack24, you can broadcast to OGN if you haven't got a FLARM Vario. But you've also got, say, Airware here. And I can say, show me all the Airware pilots. This is where having it on a PC is not so good. I could scroll it down. I can scroll it. No, I can't. Anyway, forget it. 30 kilometers, if you're on an actual phone, you scroll it down to 200 or whatever it is. You click into all the services and do that just once. OGN, 200 kilometers. Like LiveTrack24, 200 kilometers. Set it all the way out on your regular phone. And then all you've got to do is start that app on your phone, wait for it to pick up GPS and internet, and you're away. I can't zoom this because I'm on a PC, but oh sorry, yes I can, buttons are down there. There you go, you can start picking stuff up. And it will show you everybody, regardless of what they're flying. So it's a fab thing for that kind of, is anyone out flying today thing on your phone. It's the best way I've found to do it, it's ace, because you don't have to worry about what services. If you click them, it'll tell you what services they're running, so that how it picked them up. Doesn't matter. You can just pick up what they are, and because we know kind of where we are, you just zoom in on the peaks or parks or whatever, and it will just show you whatever anyone else is running, it will show you them being around. So it's great for that. Like it says there, you do need to go in just once into those menus and just set it. I mean, personally, for the flight deck one, I don't have it set out to 200 kilometres, but for the phone one, just to go, I wonder what's going on today. Just set it out to a big range, it's really nice. You can, I mentioned on the way through, XC Guide is also a fairly well-featured flight instrument if you want to use it as that. So it's got flights to goal, it has a thermaling assistant, and I think you put airspaces on it, and it does the range of stuff you might want to do in a flight instrument. So you can just whack that on your flight deck and have that be the map you're looking at if you want, just on your Android phone. But I mean, I raved about XC Track a little bit. I think it's amazing for free. I think it's absolutely stunning for free. You can drop them a bit of cash as a kind of option, really, but it's stunning. So what would be nice, and this is kind of the most techie bit we're going to do, is it would be really nice if you could have XC Track going, I know where everybody is, regardless of what they're running, and have it tell, there's far too many things called XC something. Ridiculous. XC Guide, the app that can talk to everything, it would be really nice if it could tell XC Track, which is your app, where everybody was, because XC Track can only talk to XC Track, which is annoying. So it'd be really nice if you could run both apps on your phone and have XC Guide tell XC Track where everyone is, which you can. So this is a bit of a come back to the deck later if you want to make this happen. This isn't like remembering now. But you can set up a thing, a local host server, and there's a little setting in XC Guide where you go broadcast on a server where everybody is, and then you tell XC Track to listen to it. And it's really quite straightforward. You only have to do it once. If you're running an XC Tracer, then you've got to do something. You've got to be broadcasting the right protocol and stuff. So there's ways to break it, but it can be done, is the message to take away. So then your map, as you're flying around on your flight deck with your lovely customized XC Track view, whatever it is you've chosen, just one big map, or you've got a navigation assist or a thermaling assist or whatever, it will show you little red blobs. And it will show you little red blobs regardless what other service anyone else is running. And it will pick up FLARM, and it will show you exactly where everybody is. And if people have registered their names on FLARM in the devices database, you get a friendly name, and if they haven't, you get a string of numbers and you know who it is. But it's a really cool thing to do. We were just chatting about that. XC Tracers show you other paragliders by default, so the Vario itself will show you other paragliders. If you do this, it's up to you what services you connect. But you can have it show you, I mean, literally everything. So if you turn on, you wouldn't want to do this, but this can even do ADS-B, which are the proper transponders we were talking about with not all the aircraft, which we were just talking about, but the light aircraft and stuff we've got in them. So you can use it as like a Flight Radar 24 style thing. I don't know why you'd want them on your flight deck on a paraglider, but you can. It's ace, it can do everything. So, I'm going to show you that in a minute. Personally, for a setup, I do XC Guide just running. It's talking to LiveTrack 24, so I'm broadcasting LiveTrack 24. It's not talking to OGN because I've got a FLARM variant, but if I didn't have one, it would be. And then I'm looking at XC Track as a brilliant flight instrument, and they're just in the background communicating. So yeah, instructions, if you want this is a new thing. I don't know if anyone will have seen this yet. I've posted it on a couple of groups because it's a bit flaky, slightly. So I built this last week because it wasn't flyable and I had a week off, which is typical, but we got quite a nice app out of it. For anyone using the XC retrieve type groups, you'll know Telegram. You get these pings going, Pennine group or Northwest group. Somebody needs a retrieve, they've landed out near Kendal, whatever type stuff. So this is also Telegram. And I wanted, so I've kind of built it for me and then published it. I wanted something that says people are flying today or not flying today, so just text me. And that's what this does. So there's an alerts.hilltopanalytics.com, that's me, with blog and nonsense. But alerts is the site that will give you the instructions for this. You can join a Telegram group. Ours is set up as Pennines and Dales, as a group of sites, because I wasn't going to set up 50 Telegram groups, so there's not a Pennine one, there's a Pennines and Dales one. And what it'll do is the first time somebody not necessarily takes off, first time someone turns up at a site, it'll send you a message on a day, first time for an hour. So if everyone goes home and then comes back again, it'll ping you again. But so this is today. Nonce errors, 1140, a paraglider that someone hasn't registered on the devices database, so we don't know who it is, has turned up on Nonce. They're at 1,591 feet and they're obviously flying because they're moving. So you get a little ping going, someone's at Nonce. Again, Parlek, not registered. Somebody was on Parlek, probably not flying. 0 kph. So you get those little pings. And then at half past the hour, you get, if anyone's out, at half past the hour, you get one of those that says, paraglider, 1 flying, none on the ground, none gone XC, and the heights they're at. So you just, I wanted it, so I made it. And if anybody gets any value out of it, go for it. You just go there and it'll give you the links to join it. You just get Telegram groups. If it's annoying, just mute it. You can have it on your phone as a thing that's there to check if you're on your way to the hill or whatever. It worked quite nicely in Derbyshire, other than told a few people to sit. Was happy. Other than it had a little quirk in Derbyshire this afternoon where it got dark and it was still claiming people were on takeoff. But we're ironing out the kinks, they'll be gone by this weekend. So it'll send you these messages and you can just check it out. So Derbyshire, where there's more trackers flying about, it's saying there's 3 flying, 2 on the ground, whatever, and you can almost watch it go up and back down again as it turns not flyable, so it'll give you a good idea. And the altitudes are designed to give you a little bit of an indication of, are they scratching, is it good, what you've got. And the last thing it will do, for showing off purposes, when it's XC weather again, every time somebody crosses a 25-kilometre XC boundary, so 25k, 50k, 75k, it will ping everybody and say, you never know, it might actually happen again next year. Paraglider Neil C, he's on XC from Parlek and just past 50k, it's the link. So it's one of those things where live tracking's all very well, but it's probably nobody looking at it.
How are these messages coming in, Neil?
You do this now. These were sending today.
By what means are you receiving?
Telegram. So it's a
Telegram?
Telegram
Right.
on the phone.
So this is a form of torture then, for everyone that's working.
Or it's a way of time wasting at work, because I'm at work a lot and I'm not flying, and so I honestly, I thought it'd be quite nice if you get that kind of, hey, somebody's on XC.
Yeah, so you can feel good about your fellow
You can
pilots.
feel good about your work and decide to quit, yeah. And then I've considered, if somebody breaks the 100-kilometre boundary, making it text everyone in the country, but we'll see. We'll see whether we want to do that, whether it's just annoying and how many people do it, that sort of thing. But that's quite fun if you get a ton-up kind of flash around everyone. Right, I've talked about so much tech, and I'm really into this stuff, but I know it can be quite heavy. So there's a last couple of things I just wanted to kind of make you aware exist. Airtone. I didn't know about this till recently, and it's brilliant. It's a desktop application, so I think Windows or Linux. And you just load all your IGC files into it, and it gives you the whole lot. That kind of, you end up with a device full of IGC files, and you might load a couple of them to the XC League or something. What do I do with the rest? Where's my... I've got an electronic flight diary here, but I can't see it. It's brilliant. And if you're doing the other thing, if you've got a phone on your flight deck that's running XC Track, then it's automatically logging all your flights, which is great. So they're just sat in a directory on your phone. You can either plug your phone in with a USB cable, or if you're feeling techie, you can make that folder sync to Google Drive or something. You don't need to plug your phone in. You just say when you're back on Wi-Fi phone, everything in this folder goes on Google Drive. And then when you go back to your desktop, all your ITCs are just there. You load them into here. It's a brilliant app. I'm scared myself with how much my airtime's dropped since I've had kids, actually. And honestly, I loaded it, just like, really? My God. But just a few flights loaded here, so you can just, it loads them up. You can see a lot of soaring somewhere, probably. Where's that XC gone? I'll show you an XC. It's the distance. Sorry, I can't read it. There. So, yeah, so you're getting altitude traces and you're getting information. If you load all your flights, you can get things like a really, really easy graph of just hours per month and hours per year, going back as far as you've got flight logs. You suddenly realise you left your Vario on in the car on the way home a few times, and you sort of sort it by distance and go, oh, wow! Oh. That's the difference from me from Huddersfield or something like that. And you've got other little tricks like just pop that in Google Earth. And this is a very slow old PC, but Google Earth will pop up, so you don't have to do the whole get the IGC file and take it on GPS Exchanger online and change it into, you just can sit there of an evening and call up on flights and have a look. You can even attach photos and stuff to them if you fancy that. It's weird, there you go, so you slowly do it. And you get the whole Google Earth type thing. It's fab. And again, it's just somebody's amateur project that I only found out about this season, and it deserves a lot more love. I think it's brilliant, and especially if you do the device auto syncing to your computer, or you just plug it in at the end of the day and just pull it across, because you get a proper flight diary automatically for as long back as you've got tracks. Brilliant. So, I'm going to summarise it now. So, I know I've summarised it a couple of times, but the first thing, if you stick an Android device, and remember the SIM is free. If you're doing it for free. So any old phone, mine's a Galaxy S5, so it's years old. Sometimes I think they're better for flight deck phones actually, because they haven't got curved edges and stuff. They're not so posh, they're just nice flat phones on a flight deck. You put one on your flight deck with a SIM card in it, install XC Guide, connect it to LiveTrack24 and OGN, so you're broadcasting to both. If you've got a FLARM Vario, and I'm repeating myself, you don't need to do the OGN bit because you've already got it, because your FLARM Vario is doing that. Install XC Track because it's amazing. Connect XC Guide to XC Track to get a picture of everybody when you're looking at your XC Track map. Register your FLARM device if you want your name to appear nice. It would be good if we did. But don't connect it to LiveTrack24. That thing is just annoying. If you do, don't do that. Then you get Telegram, open the Telegram app and do the instructions for the XC Retrieve bot are there, and you just basically once go, hello XC Retrieve bot, this is my LiveTrack24 ID, and then you sort it out just in case you land out and get a retrieve offer. And when you turn your phone on, it just does it. You're done. You just got to remember to start with 2 apps, or set them to start automatically when you start your phone, and you're away. And you appear on LiveTrack24, so you appear on those cool 3D maps, and people can watch you if they've got that link. You appear on the XC Retreat Aero map, so like Jacob, there's a chance you're heading for Huddersfield, and somebody kind will go, oh look, they're on their way if they make it, drive them home. You appear on all the open GliderNet sites, so Glider Radar, Glider Net, Glider Seek, whichever one you like, and the alert texts, if and when those work properly. In XC Track, so looking at your flight deck, everyone can see you and you can see them on the map. So when you're looking 2K downwind on a XC, you kind of go, oh, yeah, I know who that is. And you will appear as a name, not just a string of ID numbers, because you've registered your thing on other people's maps as well. And suddenly we're in a place where we can all see each other, know who it is. and we've got the, if you're flying with the FLARM varios with the rebate, we're getting into some decent collision avoidance as well, which would be a really good thing. Stick that for a second. Any questions?
What are you doing next weekend, Neil?
Making that app work. Please, yeah.
Can sort of like the police and the CAA know who you are when you're, can they track you down if you maybe do something you shouldn't?
I don't know, kind of, I guess.
Kind of.
Well, the devices database, the OGM database, doesn't know you beyond what you typed in it. So it doesn't have your name and address. You know, FLARM varios aren't registered in that way. I guess if you busted airspace with a FLARM vario switched on, there is a track that says this FLARM ID busted airspace, and there might be a little bit more if they could go on the devices database and go, oh, and he's registered to Neil C. I wonder who he is, and, you know, investigate. They're not registered to you as a major kind of tied to your home address type thing, but you know, I'm guessing, but I guess, you know, if you flew across an airfield, then yeah, it would give them a very reliable way to find you. But yeah, they're not an ID system. Anyone else? No. Oh yeah.
What? I'm really hopeless with computers. It's really terrible, but I can only use Apple. So do these things work with Apple?
Let's have a think. So XC Track is an Android app on the phone, because this is all phone stuff, really. So all the websites, yeah, absolutely. They'll come up on an Apple web browser and work the same way. All the phone apps, XC Track is an Android app, and XC Guide is an Android app. Fly Sky High is an Apple app that is very similar to XC Track. So if you want the kind of flight instrument on an iPhone, that's what everybody uses. But it doesn't do all of this tracking connected up stuff. The only way I can find to do that is with Android, so I've got to Google on my phone.
It'll do live track 24,
Yeah.
it won't do the OGM.
Sorry, yes, you can connect up Live Track 24 to Apple, but yeah, I've not
It'll
found
do
an
live
OGM
track
app.
24, and if you get XE Tracer, you can Bluetooth that to it, and then get FLARM.
And pick everybody else
I
up.
pick everyone else up as well.
Good shout.
That's minimum spend, so that's just a little XE Tracer. About 180 quid with the 50% rebate at the moment.
There's a lot of them on the second-hand groups as well, because a lot of people are buying the Max with the rebate, which is the 500 quid one with the screen. So there's a lot of those FLARM 2s going for quite good money for barely used stuff.
Yeah.
Don't get a screen.
Yeah, Fly Sky, you're looking probably about 15 quid before it's.
Not even that.
Well, it's 7 quid for the actual app, but for something that's useful.
£6 for each of the add-ons. They give you
Yeah.
space and give you XC and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, essentially.
Cool.
If you fly, if you fly with an iPhone, do you fly with an iPhone?
What was that?
Do you fly with an iPhone? Is that you use your Apple?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any other type of phone?
Well, if you have a Fly Sky High, then it's that you'll get. It'll knock your socks off when you
Fly
use
High
it.
Sky thing, but I just wondered whether all these apps would work with an iPhone. I just
Yeah.
wondered why they didn't.
No, they're built. I mean, they're amateur built, so they're just built for Android, unfortunately. And I have been looking for, is there an iPhone equivalent? Like the guy said, this Fly Sky High is
The
cool.
dog,
It's a cool
even
app.
the dog likes Apple. He's upset.
Shout Android. Right, I'll show you one last thing. If anyone hasn't seen this is the app I built a few years ago, and if anyone hasn't seen it, it's in Simon Blake's book actually, as the kind of flight planning stuff. But if you haven't seen it, pretty log me out now. This has got every flight from the XC League going back to 2001. It's good for playing on rainy days, and I kind of leave it at that. You can go in, you can look people up, you can look sites up, you can get things like what the site records from anywhere. The nice one for anyone sort of lower airtime, not lower airtime, anyone who hasn't broken 100k in the UK like me. the way Simon recommends you use it is you go, all right, I want to see anywhere where people have flown at least 100k on an EMB. Where have they done that? All right, well, okay, so it's been done off Barlick, it's been done off Weatherfell, and a whole bunch of people in Derbyshire have done it. But, was that big Bradwell? Yeah, what's that? Ian. But it's, certainly to Simon's point that he made with it was this idea of, if you want to fly 100k on an EMB, it's actually not been done in very many places once you start looking at this. It's, you know, this presentation is not about this app, but it's quite a fun thing to play with when you want, and there's some working and slightly broken stuff down there. And it will also give you, if you want it.
So where did they pull the data from?
The UK XC link,
Yeah,
so all the cross-country flights. And it's also got, because I think the Met Office weather is the most accurate for me, but the presentation of the Met Office weather on the Met Office app is god awful for paragliding. It's horrendous. So it has, this is Met Office visualised in a windfinder style way that's easier to read, so you can kind of do a quick week ahead with it. But I will leave that at that. It's a thing to play with. I just wanted to shout while I'm here doing tech stuff. If you haven't seen it, have a play. You can even go look yourself up and see what your best flights are. I'll show you my nonsense. It would be unfair to pull somebody else. There you go. So it'll try and find you your best thing you've ever done, whatever that is. So I have the 6th longest ENB flight ever off Canada. But it will try and find you something. Whatever, if you log flights on the XC League, it will try and find you something to be proud of, which is a reason to go in there and give it a try. There you go. I'll leave it at that. That's it for today. Unless you've got questions, then
What
shout
was
out.
that app called again?
That's called Wingman. It's, again, all the links are in the deck, but it's apps.hilltopanalytics.com/wingman. If you all go on it right now, it'll break, because it's on a very, very small server, but normally it'll work absolutely fine, because it has, you know, one visitor or no visitors on it most of the time, so just have a play. Any more for any more? Don't ask stuff I don't. That's it. Thank you for listening to techie nonsense for this long. Yeah, we'll leave it at that, and I hope everybody starts building the trackers so that I can look from Huddersfield and go on flight and run out on a summer's afternoon and get some flight time. Thanks.
Just one last question, Neil. You said you're going to put that presentation available for us to browse afterwards. Where are you hosting it?
I'll stick it on the Facebook page.
Excellent. I just want to say thanks to Neil on behalf of everybody here. I've thoroughly enjoyed that. My brain is fried. I can see a lot of bits of brain falling out all around the room. But thanks very much, Neil, on his behalf.